Hi everyone, welcome back to the homestead. I am going to share one of my favorite bread recipes with you guys, and then I'm going to actually share two different variations. So one bread recipe, three different breads. So I started with 14 cups of flour, third to a quarter of a cup of sugar, and then I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of salt. I'm using pink Himalayan salt. I also have 2 full tablespoons of yeast in here, along with a couple of tablespoons of sugar. Mix that up and added 1 cup of warm water. And when I say warm, about 100 degrees. Don't get stuck on that number though. It's, bread is very forgiving. So it can be a little bit warmer, a little bit cooler, it's fine, but you want it to be warm, not hot. And then I also have 4 cups of milk. You can use whatever milk you would like. The more fat, the better it tastes. So I'm actually just using 2% right now. That's what I had, and that's what's going in there. And then 2 eggs and 1 stick of butter. Very soft butter, definitely room temperature. So I want to make sure that that gets mixed in there really well. So I'm going to just mix in my sugar and water and flour and salt a little bit. And then I'm going to add the butter to that. And then my eggs. The yeast has been in here for about 5 minutes. You can probably tell that it's already foaming, so it's getting really nice and high there. We're going to add that to my flour. This is going to make such a good bread recipe, and I use this for sandwich bread and just really like anytime that you need any kind of bread. If you want to make bread rolls out of it, that works too. So just add all of your ingredients together. There's really no special order that you have to do this. Just want to make sure everything is mixed really well. We're going to go ahead and start mixing it, and then we're going to knead it. I almost hate giving measurements when I'm talking about making bread, because so much of it has to do with the type of flour that you use, the humidity in the air, temperature. There's just a lot of variations really. So I really prefer to just show you what the dough is supposed to look like when you're kneading it. I'm actually using organic unbleached flour for this. So if you're kind of wondering like what is it that I'm using, that's what it is. But really just even from day to day, those measurements might be a little bit different. So you might need to add a little bit more milk to it, or just warm water if it feels like it's getting too hard. If the dough is getting too soft and sticky, then you might need to just sprinkle a little bit more flour onto it. But really, making bread is about learning how the dough should feel in your hand. So you want it to be a nice sticky dough, but not so sticky that it doesn't pull together. And I'll show you in a minute what I mean by it pulling together. So you can tell like right now, it's really crumbly, and it just looks more like a biscuit mix almost, not really like a bread dough. I have been kneading this for about 7 minutes, just a little under 7 minutes, and you can see how the dough is really pulled together in one smooth lump, really. It's not separated. It's actually, as you pull on it, it's coming away from the bowl. It's not sticking to the bowl anymore like it was at the beginning, and this is what you're going for. You're looking for a nice, smooth, stretchy lump of dough. If you're not comfortable kneading it with just one hand inside a bowl, that it's perfectly fine. You can just dump all of the dough. Once you have it mixed, just dump it onto a table or a countertop, someplace where you can use both hands. A lot of people prefer doing it that way. I actually learned to do this from my mom when I was 12 years old. So this has been, 38 years. 38 years of bread making, doing it just like this. So I figured if it was good enough for my mom, it's good enough for me. And It's worked just fine. This recipe will give me 6 loaves of bread. So a couple of them I'm gonna use for sandwich bread, and the other 4, I'll show you guys what I'm gonna do with the other ones. So yum. Okay, so now that my dough is nice and smooth and elastic and holding together like I wanted it to, it's pulling away from the bowl, I'm going to dump the whole thing out. There we are. And then add a little bit of oil in my pan. So with a little bit of oil in the pan, I'm going to just kind of roll my dough in there so that it gets oiled on all sides. And then I'm going to place it inside the oven with the oven light on, not with the oven turned on, just with the light on. You want it to be a little bit warm in there. If you have something else going on in the oven and don't want to put it in there, just cover it up, maybe with some saran wrap, and put it in a nice warm place. We're going to give this about 45 minutes to an hour to rise. All of that depends on the temperature of your room. So in the summertime, it takes somewhere between 30 to 45 minutes for your dough to rise. In the wintertime, like we have right now, it's probably more like 45 minutes to an hour. Okay. It's been about 45 minutes and my dough has doubled in size, so it's ready to start rolling out. I'm gonna pour some oil on my little mat here. This is a silicone mat, and it's really nice for rolling out bread or pie crust, or just handy to have around the kitchen. So I'm gonna just dump it all out. And then I'm gonna do my best to cut it into 6 equal parts. So this recipe will yield 6 bread loaves. There we go. That feels like they're about equal. All right, so 2 of these I'm going to use for just sandwich bread. So I don't want to braid them. I want to just stretch out each roll. Into a rectangle and about the width of your bread pans. Now I've already gotten my bread pans ready. I used about a half a stick of butter for 6 pans. So they're nice and buttery, so that my bread doesn't stick to them. So just stretch it out, roll it up, and that'll be one bread pan right there. So I promised you guys that I'm going to actually be giving you 3 different bread recipes for the price of 1. So here's a couple of variations to it. The first one is cinnamon swirl. So I'm going to stretch it out just like I did my sandwich loaf. And then I'm going to sprinkle some cinnamon and sugar. And I have a cinnamon sugar mix in here. I have just a little bit of cinnamon added to the sugar. So how do you measure this? You measure it with your soul, however much you want. If you like a lot of cinnamon, then you can put a little more cinnamon, and everybody that I know likes more cinnamon than that, so adding just a little more cinnamon on top of that. Just really to your preference. If you don't want it to be really sweet, then just don't add as much sugar. So whatever you want. There's really no wrong way to do this. There it is. Now these, I want them to look a little bit prettier. So instead of rolling them like I did my sandwich bread, I'm going to braid them. So I roll them long ways, just a nice long strand there, and then do a little braid swirl there. Look at how pretty that looks. I'm going to wipe down my work surface here in between uses, just because in this next one I don't want that cinnamon and sugar in it. So just wipe back a little bit, and then I'm going to add a little bit more oil. I will share this with you. My husband John and I have been going to the market for the last few months, and just recently I have added this to our market. This specific one has been a huge seller every single time, and this is our jalapeno cheese bread. So what I have in my pan over here is 2 cups of cheese, just shredded cheddar cheese, and 1 cup of jalapenos. I used pickled jalapenos, and I strained them and then put them through a food processor. So per loaf, you'll end up with 1 cup of cheese and a half a cup of jalapenos. And I want to make sure that they're chopped really well, so that's why I put them through the food processor, but I mean, you guys do whatever you want to do. The big chunks like that, I don't really like them in there. So just spread that right over the top of your bread dough. And then we're going to roll it up and braid it just like we did our cinnamon swirl. And this turns into a really yummy cheese and jalapeno swirl bread. It is so good. If you don't like spicy stuff, you'll probably still be okay with this. It turns a little bit, it's got a little bit of a kick, but it's not super hot. So unless you just don't like any spice at all, you'll probably still like this. And if you don't want to put jalapenos in there and you just want to make a cheese swirl bread, that's all right too. Just make it, cheesy bread. You can also, like that cinnamon one, you can add some raisins to it and make it a cinnamon raisin swirl. By the way, guys, if you have not already subscribed to our channel, would you please do so right now? If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. We sure do appreciate our subscribers. I know a lot of you watch our videos and are not subscribers, and that's okay. We love you guys too. Nobody gets kicked out. But it really would help us if you subscribed. So if you don't mind doing that, we'd sure appreciate it. We're gonna let this rise for about 45 minutes to an hour until these loaf pans are nice and full. And then we're going to brush the top of each loaf with an egg wash. So just whip 1 egg with a fork until it's nice and frothy, and then brush the top of each loaf. And then that cinnamon swirl bread, I'm gonna sprinkle a little bit of cinnamon and sugar on it just to kind of identify it so that I know which one it is. And the jalapeno cheese, I'm gonna sprinkle a little bit of the shredded cheese. That way when they come out of the oven, I know which is which. They don't, kind of get mixed up. These are ready to go in the oven. I've had the oven preheating to 325 degrees. So I'm just going to place them on that middle rack, and it'll take about 45 minutes for them to bake. So what do you think? This looks really good, right? It smells really good too. So I like to take a knife and just run it along the edges here of these pans, just to make sure that the bread's not sticking to them. Even though I have butter in them, it helps to do that, especially those cheese ones. They can get kind of sticky, and especially because I did that egg wash, so that can kind of make it sticky too. So just to be on the safe side, and I'm switching knives so that I don't get cinnamon bread in my jalapeno cheese bread. On the side here, I have some freezer paper that I've set on the table, so I'm going to just drop these right onto that freezer paper, and I'm going to leave them on their side. The reason you want to leave them on their side and not just right upside down is because they can get flat, especially because it's so soft. And so you want to make sure that your bread doesn't flatten out. And about every 10 minutes or so, you want to come and flip it from one side to the other. As tempting as it is to just slice right into this and start eating it, I would advise that you wait at least 10 minutes or so, maybe even a little bit more. If you try to slice into that bread when it's really, really hot, it's just going to get really sticky and everything's just going to stick to itself, and you're not going to be able to get nice slices. So if you give it about 10 minutes or so, then you can go ahead and get your slice of nice hot bread. Thank you all so much for coming along. Hope you have a blessed day. Bye-bye.